I believe in the transformative power of relationships. And so in some ways, I know why the sort of push towards community policing of like, let's have more cops walking the beat. Let's have more cops living where they are working. Let's have more cops handing out baseball cards, playing basketball with the kids. But once I saw what was going on with Ferguson and in St. Louis, what I actually began to recognize was that this wasn't actually a truly sincere, genuine gesture of building relationship across difference. It's a propaganda move, right? So a lot of times we call the sort of police-driven propaganda, we call it copaganda. And so as a parent of Black kids, I was like, the hope here, the message that that the police are trying to send is, we're the good guys, right? Like, you can trust us. And I don't want my kids to trust their abusers, right? It actually puts them in harm's way. I don't want police to sort of earn the trust of marginalized populations and vulnerable people. I want our structure of public safety to actually be trustworthy, right? Not just the sort of illusion of building trust and then continuing the systemic violence and oppression, but a better system that reform can't provide, where we actually have public safety that is about actual trust and actual relationships, instead of sort of paving over, all of this bloodshed with ice cream and basketball games.
Right. Yeah. I can remember when a moment like that happened for me, because I grew up in fundamentalism, Southern Baptist and Church of Christ, and two of the whitest Christian groups in America, in my opinion, hyper conservative. I literally never saw a person of color in any service that I went to. And when I started my undergraduate work as a later student, I was in my late 20s when I started. I had to argue in an English class a randomly assigned debate topic. And I pulled out of the professor's hat, "The war on drugs is positive and works well," or something along those lines. And I was like, yeah, because I was, I was watching Fox News, and I was a Republican all the way because I didn't have any fucking critical thinking skills.
Well, even me, I was always like, I grew up in Iowa's an interesting case study, because now Iowa is much more conservative than when I was growing up. But I was, Iowa went blue in a lot of the national elections until about 2016. But I would say I was never like super conservative, but the zeitgeist of the moment, right, of the 90s, the early 2000s, Bush, all that stuff, the sort of zeitgeist of the moment that even for people who were in the mainline, or even for people who weren't like evangelical, the evangelical ethos sort of like seeped into and contaminated a lot of that. So for me, I was never like, I mean, there's maybe a few issues that I was maybe more conservative on, and I was definitely more conservative than I am now, but I was never like a conservative. But even for me, it's like all we were exposed to was dare and just say no, right? We weren't exposed to ideas around like harm reduction. We weren't exposed to ideas about the ways that the war on drugs was racist on every single level. Like, we just didn't even know those questions, ask those questions, or know those things, because they weren't affecting us in a direct way. And all we were hearing was propaganda. Like, it's millions and millions of dollars of propaganda.